Hi everyone, Newthany Face Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Imperial Triumphant record, Spirit of Ecstasy. This is a brand new LP from New York avant-garde metal outfit, Imperial Triumphant, the third time I'm covering the band's music on this channel, I believe, and each time they have consistently blown me away with their dense, unforgiving, and dissonant brand of extreme metal that brings in elements of technical death metal, black metal, and even jazz. And I was pretty curious as to how the band would up the ante on Spirit of Ecstasy here. In a way, I suppose they did, because with this one they managed to release their most claustrophobic and punishing record yet. The band's trademark use of hideous riffs, pummeling drums, grand arrangements, cinematic effects, and gruesome vocals all make it onto Spirit of Ecstasy right from the jump. But it seems like this time around, Imperial Triumphant has deprived the listener of any space or atmosphere to digest what is going on in real time. Take the opener CHUMP change, for example, whose opening riffs are so sour that they reek like a pile of rotting corpses. But from here we have a building wall of busy drum fills, intense bass lines, distorted metallic clangs, and vile guttural scream vocals, plus these dour horn sections rising up in the background. It all makes for a pretty frightening display. And also perfectly fits the song's lyrics about New York City being a capitalist dystopia where everything is for sale, with towering altars of gluttony in every direction. Now, as if the sound of all of this wasn't already smothering, somehow the riffs get even heavier after this, eventually morphing into some super psychedelic solo passages. The whole track is quite the ride. The dizzying and overwhelming vibes continue onto Metro Vertigo. The pacing and the grooves on this one I found to be not as visceral or exciting. The whole thing gets pretty tiresome pretty fast. I think the whole first leg, especially of this cut, is a bust. Outside of these falling grand piano notes at one point, the whole first half of this track is more stagnant than nearly anything else on this LP. Those constantly ascending and descending dissonant riffs can really only do so much, especially when the drums behind them feel like they are on autopilot and the vocals on top are doing, I don't know, some kind of like spaced out death metal rant. The progressions on Tower of Glory, City of Shame are a lot more gripping. I love the dramatic and wondrous string sections, harp, as well as spoken word vocals that open the intro. Sounds like something out of an old Hollywood horror film. Then what busts in are these very chaotic and rubbery guitar riffs in 3/4, which simultaneously sound twisted and zany. The whole song feels like the soundtrack to slowly going insane as I join this technocratic cult, with all of these very odd group chants and mantras set to this gruesome orchestra of death metal instrumentation. It's a lot to take in the best way possible. From here we get more weepy strings on Mercurius Gilded, where instrumentally we actually get some of the grandest layers on the entire record. I just wish they were given the room to breathe in the mix that they had on Alphaville back in 2020, especially with those insane sax solos harmonizing with the guitars in the second half. I think the boomy and compacted presentation of this instrumentation really only darkens the luster of what Imperial Triumphant is doing. A problem that only becomes more apparent as the band instrumentally gets more ambitious, like on the towering string sections and hammered dulcimer melodies on the following track, which again are very pretty but quite buried in the mayhem surrounding them with the guitars and drums and vocals. This is the kind of densely mixed madness you would typically expect from a Portal record, which is not entirely a bad thing, but I don't know if it's the best move or direction for this to have gone in. Now, keeping with this LP's themes of New York urban apocalypse, we have In the Pleasure of Their Company, which is this whole instrumental cut of a very grim metropolitan jazz fusion with a lot of walking bass, trumpet, electric guitar, keys. These cats are cooking, and they're doing it with a very strange and unsettling death metal atmosphere. There are truly some great and fantastic improv passages on this track, and the whole thing progresses into a heavier, more metal-driven sound in the second half. Major highlight on the LP, no doubt. Meanwhile, the track Benzumnaya is this maddening metal theater piece with a lot of extreme distorted screams, some spoken word passages in Russian. Yeah, the whole track seems to be in Russian. And I guess the song is about this guy and his struggle to make it up a mountain, and symbolically this could be about, like, you know, life's various struggles and obstacles hitting you, and I think he like dies on this journey and becomes a part of the mountain. The interpretation could be lost on me, as Russian is not my strong suit, but I do have to give it to Imperial Triumphant for delivering such a unique turn on this album, even if I think the whole first half of the track is a little long-winded. Respect for delivering the most hellish passage of music in the second half, though. The gross capitalistic aspirations of this LP reach into the stratosphere with the closing cut Maximalist Scream, which seems to be about a mid-century space race of some sort. That may make the Russian tie-in of the previous track make more sense. The sentiment of this cut is very much about advancement at the sacrifice of pretty much everything else. I also love the open, spacious, prog metal sections in the second half, the vocal switch up during this portion of the track too. I mean, this is the kind of space and clarity that I was hoping to hear throughout the midpoint of this record as well, but alas, I didn't really get it. Still, though, I think this is a pretty harrowing and interesting album from Imperial Triumphant. For the most part, great performances, song ideas, and concepts, super, super, super unique compositions, winding song structures, edge-of-your-seat progressions, crazy instrumental palettes for a metal record, as well as genre fusions. The band continues to be one of the best and most creative forces in New York metal today. Yes, I do have some mixing issues on some of the tracks here, and for the most part, I thought the second one was really a dud. But outside of that, a lot of fantastic things going for this album, and certainly a metal record I think you should hear this year, especially if your tastes run kinda left field. I'm feeling a light to decent 7 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Imperial Triumphant, forever.